extremely versatile bait. Seems like it catches larger than average fish. Picking a trailer for a bladed jig has gotten more simple for me, certainly in the last few years. You know, bladed jig fishing is something that is definitely here to stay. It is a extremely versatile bait. Seems like it catches larger than average fish. You know, a spinnerbait is something that I definitely still carry, and it absolutely has a place in my boat, almost even more so than it has in the past few years, just due to the fact that I don't think as many people are throwing them. But one thing that a lot of people are throwing and catching a lot of fish on still is a bladed jig. There's a few different kinds. You know, you've got different kinds of bladed jigs out there on the market, a few different brands of stuff. But one thing is for sure, picking a trailer for it, you know, there's all different kind of options, right? Nobody's there. You're not designed to fish a bladed jig without a trailer. It is definitely designed to have a trailer on the back of it. Some of the first ones that I really started using was a crawl, you know, just a small crawl style trailer. And I'd actually use these in dark colors, thinking that I was imitating crawfish, but I would also use them in white colors, you know, bright baitfish kind of colors, but that same crawl style profile. So does that look at all like a baitfish? I don't know, but I caught a lot of fish on a chartreuse and white or a white bladed jig with a white crawl on the back of it. But anymore now, if I'm fishing a baitfish color, I pretty much use one of two trailers, either a boot tail swim bait, Bass Pro Speed Shad is the one that I'll go to, typically a 3.8, and I may bite some of that off, but a 3.8 inch. But the one that I use more now than anything in baitfish colors especially is that Super Shad. That is just a shad, imitating shad profile. And when you put that on the back of a bladed jig, the thing that I noticed right away when I first started using this style trailer, and one of the first tournaments that I used it in was actually the Classic in 2019 for this style. It wasn't this exact trailer, but for this style trailer, was how much more hunting that the bait actually does. When you put a crawl style trailer on the back of it, you know, something even as small as that, but if you were to go up to something that has, you know, that kind of resistance to it, it really causes that bait to track very true. That sounds good, but just like fishing a crankbait, if that bait tends to hunt a little bit, it kind of varies from one side to the other. I've seen a lot of times where that will absolutely trigger those fish to bite. And that's what you get with a trailer like that Super Shad. It's got some meat on it up towards the front, but the back of it is thin. That tail really moves around a lot in the water. But it allows that bait to hunt and kind of vary throughout the retrieve. So I like that style trailer. I've caught them on it in cool water down into the, certainly into the low 50s. But I especially like that style trailer when that water is at least 55 degrees and up. You know, that I think that increased action at that point in time will definitely trigger more bites. And I'll use that in a green pumpkin color. I'll use it in a black and blue, but definitely in those warmer water situations. And a little bit clearer water. You know, if the water's fairly clean, I think that style trailer works well. But still, in dirty water, I still really like throwing that little crawl style trailer on the back of it. And also something that I've done more recent years, you may have saw a video from Sturgeon Bay up in the Bass Pro Tour where I was catching a lot of fish on a small bladed jig. Up there on those northern waters, they have so many crawfish. I mean, it is just unbelievable. Everybody thinks about those fish eating a lot of gobies, which they do, but they also eat tons and tons of crawdads. And there truly is not a better moving bait imitator of a crawfish, in my opinion, than a bladed jig, especially a little, you know, a little green pumpkin one like that. But that is a Bass Pro Baby Sticko that I've got on the back of that, and man, that thing fished down near the bottom, that looks just like a crawdad. When that thing's vibrating, shaking, those little legs kicking back and forth the way they do, it is a crawdad imitating son of a gun, and those smallmouth will absolutely eat that up. But yeah, so that's some of the different style trailers. That Speed Shad, that's still one that I use imitating bait fish, especially in dirty water. That's typically when I go with that, or when that water's cooler. If that water, I've caught them on a bladed jig down into the 40s, and I'm going to want to fish that bait slower and kind of hover it almost in place. And you can do that with that speed shad because it does have more resistance, and you're able to get a little bit more lift out of it that way. So that's kind of when I'll still go with that speed shad. That used to be the nearly the only trailer that I would use on the back of a bladed jig, from shad colors to dark colors. I use that one almost exclusively, but now mix it up a little bit, especially having that super shad in our lineup. But those 3 trailer styles, you can vary that, you know, amongst brands, but definitely having some crawl and then having a baitfish and a straight tail baitfish imitator, you'll be able to take a bladed jig, go anywhere throughout the country, and probably start reeling in some big bass with it.